Hello everybody, my name is Bill. Welcome back to the NCAA Football 7 Dynasty Mode Explanation Series. As you can see, we are on Bowl Week number 2, but let's go ahead and recap what happened in last week's bowl games. In the Poinsettia Bowl, Miami of Ohio beat Utah 28-25, proving that Utah underperformed last year, since last year, and last year's season was just mainly a fluke, from going 12-1 to finishing this season 6-7 and losing to Miami of Ohio in the first bowl game of the year. Northern Illinois barely edged out Tulsa 25-22. Hopefully Northern Illinois doesn't have the same thing happen to them as happened to Utah and also to their counterparts in Ohio, because Ohio had a wonderful season last year and Ohio ended up going from like 9-4 I want to say, or like 10-4, all the way down to 4-8. So hopefully same thing won't happen to Northern Illinois this week, next season. And in the Las Vegas Bowl, San Diego State beat Stanford 24-14. So we had two one-possession games and a two-possession game. And now we are going to go ahead and start the predictions for Bowl Week number 2, 8 bowl games, and next week we have the other 17. Fun on my part, I'm just going to say that. As we start off with the New Orleans Bowl being between Nebraska and Bowling Green. Nebraska's key win is a 38-7 victory over number 18 Colorado, which happened just a few virtual weeks ago, and it was when I was saying Nebraska was underperforming. Meanwhile, Bowling Green's key win was a 24-21 victory against Northern Illinois, just recently in their championship game matchup. Their worst losses, Nebraska, if we want to include my game, is of course the 238-0 pounding I gave them. That's why their stats look so bad. But if we don't want to include that, then I put their air loss to another creative team of mine, Tampa Bay, 42-38, which Tampa Bay, and I'll probably get to this with them because they're in a bowl game as well, is they need to be consistent. You can't beat one good team in your conference, lose to another good team in your conference, and also lose to one of the worst teams in your conference in Texas Tech. I mean, seriously, it's like, for example, the Bears right now. They have bad coach in Matt Nagy, who can't seem to call a good enough plays for Mitch Trubisky, and the fans are calling for Mitch Trubisky's head because he's not making the best throws, making the best decisions. Yet they somehow drunkenly stumble into the playoffs because especially this year, because of the extra playoff spot. But it's also because of the fact of a bunch of luck and then nothing changes, Hopefully something does change in Tampa Bay, though. For the Lightning, not the Buccaneers. Buccaneers, on the day I'm recording this, well, technically the day after this, they just won against Washington 31-23, while the Buccaneers did. And of course, the Lightning in real life are a hockey team, but hey, And for Bowling Green, their worst loss was a 52-28 loss to Ohio, one of Ohio's 4 wins, as just mentioned. And Nebraska has underperformed this year compared to last year, as they go from being the Big 12 champs to having to go up against the MAC champions in Bowling Green. Falcons are on a momentum swing after knocking off one of 4 undefeated teams at the time. But I do think that the talent from the Cornhuskers being in the Big Ten and me constantly saying they've been underperforming have been able to help. I think it's going to be a slaughter here, and the fans will celebrate or drink away this loss on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. We go from New Orleans now to Fort Worth for the Fort Worth Bowl between UNLV and ECU. UNLV won 35-19 for their key win against Colorado State, and ECU key win was against UAB 30-20, which was their sixth win, their final win of the season so far, and what helped them become bowl eligible in the first place. Their worst losses, however, for UNLV was a 21-33 loss to Utah, and for East Carolina, that was a 17-35 loss to Memphis, partially because I'm biased to whenever Memphis does something good. Both teams are coming into this matchup with winning streaks. Nevada, Las Vegas, which of course is the longer form of UNLV, is on a 4-game win streak, while ECU is on a 3-game win streak. But one of these have to end. Rebels have the ratings and stats advantage over the Pirates, but I think this might become a coaching matchup between John Blackbeard X and Magnus Chase. But I think UNLV has the better coaching and will easily prevail in this one and celebrate maybe either Vegas style, with a lot of partying, Texas style, with everything being big, or maybe just a combination of the two with a big crazy party. And we go from Fort Worth to Honolulu, Hawaii for the Hawaii Bowl between Ball State and New Mexico State. 4-8 Ball State. I don't think they should even be in here. I mean, their key win is against Miami, Ohio, 48-21. But New Mexico State's key win was against a ranked team, 32-30, against number 25 Boise State. Now, of course, this is their ranking now. I don't know what their ranking was back then, or if they were even ranked at all, but a current ranked team is a lot better. And their worst loss, Ball State's was a 10-43 loss to Central Michigan, and New Mexico's was a close one, 31-38 to Louisiana Tech. Excuse me. But I'd say Ball State shouldn't even be here. As an at-large bid, they shouldn't even been picked. I mean, they were an at-large pick. Why were they picked? There were better teams to choose from, like Louisiana Monroe, Virginia Tech, UCLA, LSU, Houston, California, Arkansas State, Memphis, UCF, Cincinnati. That's just a few teams that had better records than them that didn't even get selected for a bowl game. I'd say New Mexico State just wins this. Second best passing defense, passing offense. They're just going to pass it and blow them out. To the Motor City Bowl now in Detroit between Ohio State and Western Michigan. Boy, Ohio State just seems to love the state of Michigan right now. Key win for Ohio State was 56-39 against current number 5 Wisconsin, while Western Michigan's was 58-14 at Miami of Ohio. Well, their worst losses for Western Michigan, this was, at this point in the script, I decided to stick with whatever team was considered the home team and just win with their worst loss first and then switch back over to the team that's known as the away team here for their worst loss. Western Michigan's worst loss was a 20-27 close loss to Northern Illinois, which kind of pushed Northern Illinois' limits a bit before that championship game against Bowling Green. And Ohio State was a 26-31 loss to Michigan, who's currently ranked 23rd right now. And Ohio State's loss to Michigan is what kept them from winning the Big Ten championship, and the game first deciding to give it to Wisconsin and then deciding to give it to Penn State. Even though they both lost to Ohio State, let's just say that the game decided to just say, screw it, we'll just give it to the team that we want to give it to. And that loss to Michigan was heartbreaking, devastating, and Ohio State's looking to take it out, basically little brother. But the Broncos do have a high-powered offense that can keep up with the Buckeyes. Yeah, I think that Western Michigan's gonna have a bit of a problem with trying to keep up with Ohio State. Defensively, Yeah, yeah, can Michigan keep up with Ohio State's defense, or will they crumple under the weight of going against the Big Ten powerhouse? And this will get a good viewing because of the fact that it's number 9 team in the nation. I have to say Ohio State will end the year winning this bowl game, looking to build up for revenge against Michigan, especially since they kept them from winning the Big Ten championship and creating a little bit of controversy along the way. Now we travel from Detroit to the Independence Bowl down in Shreveport, Louisiana, between Hawaii and Kansas State. Hawaii's key win was against Utah State 45-26, while Kansas State was a 27-24 game against Nebraska, which kind of tells you that Nebraska is going to perform this year. Which, of course, I'm saying that maybe that'll help Nebraska a bit. Two high-scoring teams are facing off here in Shreveport, Louisiana, and the Warriors and the Wildcats. Kansas State's 2 years removed from a national championship appearance, but hey, at least this year they have a winning record. Because last year they went 4-8, this year they went 8-4. Which funny, Georgia Tech just went 8-4-8, and they were in the national championship game last season. Interesting to see what West Virginia's record's going to be the next year. Hawaii hopes to get a winning record as well, but they're facing Big 12 team. But hey, when has the Big 12 ever been known for defense, really? I think what these two teams are going to be who has the ball last, and Hawaii will have the ball last and come out on top. Okay. Now we go from Louisiana to San Francisco, California, in the Emerald Bowl between number 22 Navy and number 25 Boise State. The key win for Navy was a 31-12 win against Army, in which they secured the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, while Boise State was, at the beginning of their season, with a 17-14 win against now number 13 ranked Oregon. And Navy's only loss, while Boise State has 3 losses. Oh, for the matchup between Hawaii and Kansas State. Kansas State's worst loss was a 21-3 loss to 15-3 Missouri, which we will talk about them a little later in this episode because they are in the Holiday Bowl. And Hawaii's worst loss was a 22-24 loss to Nevada, which was a game they really shouldn't have lost, but it was a close enough game to, like a kind of bad team. Boise State, meanwhile, back to this one. Boise State's worst loss was a 30-28 loss to Louisiana Tech that basically determined who would get the WAC championship. And Navy's only loss of the year was a 49-10 drumming by Notre Dame on them. Which, Navy, I'm going to say this, Navy is like the current day at the time I'm recording this Pittsburgh Steelers. They got an impressive record, but a lot of their wins came against like bad teams. Or, for some people want to argue, for Pittsburgh, they had help with the refs, wherever you want to conspire. But here we have our first top 25 matchup in this bowl season, as of course Navy's going against Boise State. In lovely San Francisco, was home of the 49ers, but now they play in Santa Clara. Navy's coming off an impressive season, being 11-1 and having one of the best rushing games in the nation. Boise State, however, has been pretty balanced all year en route to a 9-3 record, starting off with that upset win against Oregon. The defense of these Broncos will have to stop the midshipmen from running all over them and force them to fire the cannons, aka use the pass, because they are 116th in passing offense. Not the best stat in the world. But I think it's going to be a close one, with Navy coming on top and selling off the shores of San Francisco. Now, the game labels this the MPC Computers Bowl, which I never really heard of that company, and I'm pretty sure that company is also out of business. But this is a matchup in Boise, Idaho, and I know it more as the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. So that's what I'm referring to this matchup as. The Idaho Potato Bowl in Boise, Idaho, between Colorado State and number 14 Louisiana Tech. A key win for Colorado State this year was against the Mountain West champions in San Diego State, 24-21, and Louisiana Tech was that 38-28 win against Boise State, as just mentioned in the previous matchup, because that determined who won the WAC. Their worst losses, though, Louisiana Tech only had one loss, and that was a 7-37 loss to LSU. And Colorado State's worst loss was 21-24 to the Air Force, which they finished the year like 4-8, and also I'm a former airman, so a little bit of biasness to the Air Force there. Louisiana Tech's looking to claim another win on the blue field of Boise, and as I like to call it, the Idaho Potato Bowl. While Colorado State wants to beat a top-ranked team. Bulldogs have a deadly passing attack and a stout defense that can hold back the Rams. Colorado State Rams, not the Los Angeles Rams. They kept the Seahawks from giving their fans a heart attack by just beating them 30-20 on the night I'm recording this. Colorado State has great rushing attack as well, but Louisiana Tech has the fourth best rushing defense in the nation. I think the Bulldogs will get the win here and celebrate mightily. And now our final matchup of the week is number 15 Missouri against number 10 Arizona State. In the second top 25 matchup in bowl season, it's the 15th ranked Tigers against the 10th ranked Sun Devils, which for Missouri, their key win was a 41-24 win against Nebraska, though that was early in the year, and plus, again, underperforming Nebraska. That game, something, Nebraska underperforming. Which, I know that's probably just going to anger refer to Nebraska even more. And Arizona State's key win was a 37-30 win against USC, which played pivotal for the Pac-10 championship, determining. But their worst losses for Arizona State was a 34-39 loss to Oregon, which kept them from winning the Pac-10 championship. And for Missouri, it was a 44-21 loss at Tampa Bay, which, again, Tampa Bay's consistency is up in the air because they beat a good team in Missouri, they beat a good team in Nebraska, they lose to Texas, they lose to Oklahoma, and they lose to Texas Tech. Like, if you're going to beat good teams, beat the good teams and just beat the bad ones. Seriously. But I'll talk about that a bit more when we get to their bowl game, which we can go and take a little bit of a preview look at that. And it's going to be the Gator Bowl. Kind of a home field advantage for them considering it's Florida. It's Jacksonville, not Tampa. Speaking of which, is there even a bowl game in Tampa? Let's see. Dallas. Yeah. They ended up at the Outback Bowl. That could have been their kind of like a home game for them, but they decided to give it to Alabama and Minnesota. We'll talk about these matchups next week, along with USC and Syracuse, FIU, Tulane, Michigan State, Mickey, and all those other ones. Some Devils are looking to make San Diego the home burial site for Missouri for their season, but the Tigers are looking to pounce. Both teams had bad conference losses this year, which Missouri took theirs in the middle of a 3-game losing streak where they lost to Texas and I forget who else they lost to. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, they lost to Colorado, understandable, and then they lost to Texas, also understandable. But the Tampa Bay loss kind of surprises me because of the fact that, like I said, Tampa Bay's consistency's been meh, you know. And Arizona State's was essentially decided the Pac-10 championship. Tigers have been decent this year, but they need to be good against the Herm Edwards-led Sun Devils because they have the 12th best offense. Now, granted, Missouri has the 16th best offense and the 23rd best defense, but Arizona State has the 5th best defense. And I think that Arizona State's going to win more off their defense than their offense. And they're definitely going to have some momentum going into next season. And the reason why I didn't do a top 25 this week is because the fact that bowl season just keeps the polls the same until all the bowls are over with. So until all 17 of these bowl games are over with, and once the national championship game is over with, that's when the whole entire bowl system, the entire top 25 refreshes, which I will do that, and then I will start doing the off-season keys for each team. I'll probably just do that from like the stats, then like the rosters, because I'm not going to try to go through all 119 rosters at once and do all 119 teams at once. Probably going to break it down by like division and conference. That's about it. But the headline this week, as you can see, is going to war. And the Bobcats come away with the victory against number 2 West Virginia. ESPN, have you not been seeing my score lines? I think I can come away with the victory. But anyways, that's it for this episode, and I will see you all next time.